So, therapists, you think that ignoring your money and ignoring what's in your bank account or what's coming in helps to avoid the anxiety that comes with being a business owner. But the reality is that it doesn't. So, I want to talk about money today. I want to talk about what happens when we just ignore what's coming in, where we just kind of maybe have a general glance at what's happening at your bank account, but you really don't understand what's happening with your numbers and how this can actually cause more stress, not less. Because that's the big thing. I want you to see that looking at your numbers, making peace with your numbers, keeping an eye on it on a regular basis, not just at the end of the year, can have such a big impact on your private practice success and on your private practice ease. I mean, one of the biggest reasons that I hear therapists say that they don't like private practice or they don't go into private practice is because it's stressful, that it doesn't feel like there's ease. They don't want to worry about what's happening with their next paycheck. And when you start to make peace with your numbers, it can make a huge difference. So I'm going to tell a couple of stories today if you guys are into it. If you have questions about what you should be doing in terms of what numbers you should be looking at, post them in here. We're bringing actually a CPA who's also a therapist in for training in August. She's going to be doing a free training to talk through what does a CPA think you should do as a therapist? What does this really look like? And we're going to be digging down deep. But today, I just want to talk about some of the things that have legitimately happened to multiple therapists, because I've been working with therapists for years, where it is causing them more stress, not less, to not look at their numbers. Okay, so scenario one, right? You are in this place where life is happening, you're feeling stressed out, and you had a slow week. For whatever reason, the phones are not ringing. And you start to think oh my gosh, I haven't had a client call in 2 weeks. What does this mean? Is my private practice owner over? What's going on? Having an idea of what's happening with your numbers can make such a big impact. I've had multiple coaching clients over the years who will tell me with complete certainty that their business is it is gone, it is done. They're going to have to go and move into a van, that everything is going wrong, that their private practice money, they're not going to be ever to live on it, only to go and look at the numbers and find out that they just had one of their best months ever, right? So one of the things that can happen, and this can happen on both sides, but we can make decisions based on a false narrative or false reality that we have created for ourselves. And this doesn't happen with our clients, doesn't happen with us in lots of other areas. So what I want you to be able to do as a business owner, and what you need to be able to sustain and love this work and really be able to enjoy your work with clients, is that you need to be able to make plans based on real information. And know that, especially in the beginning, when you're starting private practice, even sometimes 5 or 10 years in, what happens internally and how you're feeling about your money situation, about your private practice profit or success, that doesn't necessarily correlate with how you're actually doing in business, how you're actually doing in private practice. And again, for therapists, not always, but we tend towards feeling like it must be the worst that it could ever be. And so if you are someone who tends that way, you will create so much more stress for yourself. On the other hand, right, sometimes people will say oh my gosh, I'm so busy. I have a full practice. The phone's ringing off the hook. I can afford to do all of these things because I have a successful practice, without looking at their numbers, without looking at their budget and what the expenses are coming in. And without looking at those numbers, they can end up on the opposite side of that scale, which is, wow, I feel so successful. I'm working really hard, but my profit is nothing because I'm making decisions that aren't based on actually looking at the numbers. I'm saying yes to things that maybe if I looked at the number and what was actually going to come into my bank account for me to actually spend as a human being, what resources I'd have for my actual family, maybe I would say no to that certification, or I would say no to outsourcing that particular thing right now. Investing a lot of money into ads when I'm already full, right? Like I've had people come in and they really are in a place where like they're spending $2,000 a month on ads and they don't need to be because they are full. Most of the referrals are coming from word of mouth, but there's something about like investing in that area that makes them feel really good. So we need to be looking at what is happening with the money coming in and the money going out on a regular basis, at least monthly. And for some of you, that might even be once a week. Again, Ginny Schottmiller, she's going to be coming in and talking with us and doing a whole breaking it down free training about what needs to happen with the finances. But it is so powerful to go in and look at those numbers. Now, here's another scenario. I was looking at numbers with one of my coaching clients, and I looked at the number of sessions they'd done for the previous month. And then I looked at what it showed for their profit, and I went and compared to the last month, and I went, something's wrong with the numbers. And they go, what do you mean? I was like, this, like the amount that your income, your profit went up versus the amount that like the number of sessions, like something's wrong with the numbers. And they went in and guess what? They found that a whole week of income hadn't come through in their accounting software. Everything's supposed to happen automatically. But that place of like looking at that number and seeing it and just take, like for me, again, just looking at two different numbers, the number of sessions this month compared to the last month, and then looking at the profit, or even I think it was even the gross income this month compared to the last month, I could immediately see that something was off. Now, that's something that happens over time. The more that you kind of know what's happening with your numbers, the easier you can just feel intuitively without doing crazy math, without being an accounting expert, without anything else. You just go, wait, my intuition says something feels off. Like that went up 20% and that went up like $300. Like something's not right here, right? So when you are looking at numbers on a regular basis, you can catch issues much more quickly. You can catch that something's wrong with your accounting software. You can catch that some expense is coming out. You can catch that something's off with the way that you're running salary or payroll that's making your profits go up really high one month and really low the next month because of how everything's going. So you can make those decisions. So this figuring out what really works for you financially, what really works for your private practice finances, it's something that happens over time. You're going to practice these new habits. You're going to practice these new patterns. Again, we have Ginny coming. I hope that you will come. Check on our link in bio or the link that we have right in the link, depending on where you're watching this. And come and join us for this training and bring your questions, bring your concerns about private practice finance. We want to honor you. It's not something that you need to look at just once a year at the very end of the year. Those are the pieces. Sorry, I was looking, I saw some little reactions. If you have questions that you want to ask even right now, obviously I'm a private practice expert, but I'm not a CPA. We're going to have Ginny, who's a CPA and who is a therapist in private practice. So she's going to be answering your questions at that free training in August. First week, August 3rd. And we'll be checking that out. But if you have questions that I can answer today, I'm happy to do so. Otherwise, go sign up for the training, come and join us. Let's dig in and let's let you actually enjoy private practice success and start to find that confidence as a business owner. Because as you have that, it means that you're going to have more mental space to really enjoy your clinical work. You're going to have more mental space to really dig in clinically with your clients, to be fully present for them, to be fully present at home with your friends, with your family, in your social life, in your communities, doing social justice work, like whatever the things that you want in your life. If you can figure out the finances and start to make peace with it and come up with some habits and patterns that really work for you, it's going to free you up and your life is going to be better. Don't you want your life to be better? Don't you want your life to be less stressful just the way that you want that for your clients? Yes, you do. Okay, I see a question. Let me go look. Let's see. Finances are my biggest worry and what's keeping me from jumping in full time. Looking forward to the training. Yay. I'm so glad that you're going to come to the training. And this is the piece which is so interesting. The amount of times that I have worked with someone who was straddling that line. Okay, I've got part-time practice. I'm doing a little on the side, and then I have this full-time job. And like, this gives me security. And then when we teach them how to actually run the numbers and they start to compare and they go, oh my gosh, this, what feels like security actually is holding me back financially, because when I look at what I'm really doing on an hourly basis, it doesn't make sense. And I went through this when I had a partner and we married, and they got laid off, and I panicked. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to pay for our benefits. Like, this is going to be the end of the world. And I went through this whole process of like going and interviewing and then getting this like job offer and looking at the numbers and comparing it and going, oh my gosh, like legitimately, I only needed to see 2 more clients a week in private practice to have my benefits paid for, versus going and working 30 hours plus a week at a super high stress setting. Like, oh my gosh. But again, I had this narrative in my head about you can't do private practice unless you have benefits paid for someplace else. So when we can start to see money as a resource, when we can start to see that we are capable, that you don't have to be a math expert either. Like, you don't have to be a math expert. You don't have to know math, be able to do math in your head. All you need to be able to do is like set up, like I love setting up Excel spreadsheets for me and for my clients, because it doesn't involve, like, it takes some of the error stuff out, where I can just put the numbers in and it calculates and tells me, right? We do that in boot camp. We have this whole like piece of software that people answer questions, and then it says, okay, here's the deal. In order to have these things in your life and be able to afford these things, your consultation, your certifications, what have you, and to have money for taxes and not be stressed, here's what you need to charge, and here's what the money's going to look like in your pocket, right? Like, but I couldn't do that in my head. I can sometimes I can eyeball it, to be honest, at this point, just because it's been almost 15 years of doing this consulting work. So like sometimes I can eyeball it, but realistically, I need to look at that and just put the things in there and then let the computers do the work for us, right? Like, we don't have to do the work. So I hope you guys will join us, invite your friends. It's a free training. Again, CPA, who is also a therapist in private practice, they really get where we're going for. And the whole point in making peace with your private practice finance is that it's going to be less stress for you, and it's going to leave you more energy to do what you really love, which is help people, right? Right. Can I get an amen? Can I get I'm here to help people? Can you like text that or heart that and say like, this is what I'm here for? Because I think that's the piece that somehow we get kind of like bound up, where we feel like, oh my goodness, like I'm really here for my clients. So I'm not here about the finances. That's not what it's about. But then the financial stress that we're like kind of under because we're not making peace with it, we're not figuring out something that works for us, then suddenly like we're really carrying it all the time, and it actually pulls away from us being able to be there. Like, it pulls away from us being able to take a day off or to get consultation when we need it. When you have a really tricky case, you should be able to either get in a consultation group, or you should be able to hire someone for an hour consultation without stress. If you're in private practice, like, you should have the budget for that, right? Like, we should be able to not get your regular tax bill at the end of the year and be shocked and surprised by it and going like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this, right? We should understand what it means to go into the next tax bracket. And this is like, I just went over this with a client this week, this idea that like, oh, it actually is bad for me to make more money. It's not. Like, there's this weird thing about tax brackets that we get really tricked out. And I made the same mistake when I was starting in private practice of thinking that if I made over a certain amount of money, that suddenly all of the money was going to be taxed at this higher rate. But it is actually not that way. It's that like each chunk of money has its own amount of taxes, which again, it's hard to explain in here. I think Jenny's going to go over that in the training, but like, it's a different thing. It's not that all $50,000 of profit is going to be taxed at this 35%. It might be $10,000 of profit that's going to be at this higher percentage, but that additional profit is usually like pure profit, meaning your expenses don't go up a ton as you get into more profitability and more money is coming up into your pocket, right? So I think it's so important for us to know. Let's see, I'm trying to figure out how to balance my life with work. So getting the numbers help for me to see the big picture. Looking forward to the training. Yes. And I'm so glad that you guys are here for the help. I'm so glad that we are starting to really take that realization that we are not private practice owners. We are business owners, right? If you have a private practice, part-time or full-time, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you are seeing one client and getting paid for them, whether you're doing insurance or private pay, you are a business owner. So if you are that person, if you have clients who are paying you, I want you to type in the chat, I'm a business owner. And I think there's something about that, like, oh, I'm in practice, or I have a private practice, or I have a boutique practice, or I have a small private practice, that somehow we disconnect from the idea that like we are a small business owner. Or maybe you are just a business owner. Maybe you are just a large business owner, right? We have $1 million practices out there. You know, there are therapists, again, group practices generally, that have 7-figure practices. Like this is a real business. This is a real career place. It's a real profession, right? This is a viable thing. And we are business owners. And if you are thinking about going to private practice, you're not there yet, and this feels kind of scary to think like, oh my gosh, I'm opening a business. Don't be scared. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to be a business owner. And I remember when I was in school, they really kind of tamped that down in me and made it sound like really scary and lonely and terrible. But the reality is, if you set it up right, if you get the information and the business skills that you need, it's beautiful. Like, it's just gorgeous for sure. Yes, you are business owners. Yes. So anywho, so this is my favor that I'll ask for you. Share this with people who need it. Tag your friends. Let's get them all coming to this training, free training. Jenny Schottmiller, CPA and a therapist in private practice. She got you. We got you. Let's all come together and, support one another in figuring out this money thing, because what we do matters, and we want you out in the world. You deserve the life that you want for your clients. All right. Until next time, guys.